The date was Saturday, the 10th of December 2022. A World Cup quarter-final of England versus France was in full flow. A Tchouaméni wonder strike, a Kane penalty, and a Giroud header left the score at 2-1 France. But that man, Harry Kane, 83 minutes on the clock, had another chance from the spot, and then this happened. What you just saw was the kick that broke England fans' hearts, and it leaves the question to be wondered: what would have happened if Harry Kane had scored that penalty? We are about to find out in this video. Got a hypothetical situation of what would have happened if Kane had scored that penalty. Keep watching to find out what I think would have happened. By beating France, England would have set up a semi-final fixture versus Morocco. Morocco, the big underdogs of the tournament. However, I do believe England would have defeated them in a similar fashion to the way that France defeated them in real life. So I think Morocco would have arguably looked the better side, but the quality of England players like Kane, Rashford, Saka, it would have shone through, and eventually England would have got the win through a 1, maybe 2-0 win if we were lucky, maybe something like 3-1. So I think that against Morocco, England go to the World Cup final after becoming the villains of the World Cup, beating the underdogs of the tournament. In this hypothetical situation, with England making it to the World Cup final, I think we would have seen a similar manner in the same game, pretty much the exact same. There's no reason it would change. Argentina beat Croatia 3-0, and we are set up with Messi versus England's Three Lions in the World Cup final. And overall, I think that the England side would have had more quality in that game, but I do think that Argentina going forward against an England defence that is arguably weak would have been dangerous, although I could definitely see England absolutely dominating the midfield against an Argentina side which is just made up of De Paul, who is Messi's bodyguard, and Paredes, who's just angry, I guess, with the stuff he's been doing this tournament, especially against the Dutch. So I think that if this hypothetical situation was to happen, it's coming home. It's coming home. England would just about beat Argentina in the World Cup final, and I'd go for an absolutely cracking game, 3-2. Messi would get both. Actually, no, he'd score one wonder goal, and he would also have another amazing assist for Julian Alvarez. But Kane would score a penalty. Saka would find himself on the score sheet, and the man who everyone's been hating, Harry Maguire, scores a header. He won't get the 3-2, he won't get the winner, he'll probably score the first one. He scores a header from the corner because he has such a physical advantage over the Argentinian defence. So in this hypothetical situation, England win the World Cup, in my opinion. However, what would happen after that? Keep watching to find out, and if you enjoyed the video, also like and subscribe. With England now being crowned champions of the world, let's talk players first. So someone like Jude Bellingham, there'll be no January move for him. However, in the summer, the Liverpool fairy tale, it's not going to happen. He'll either get signed by City or Real Madrid for probably 150 million plus, because winning the World Cup will inflate his market value even more than it already has. Most other England players we will see stay where they are, whether I can see a mid-table club like Aston Villa or West Ham trying to bring in Harry Maguire for United to get him off the wage bill, and also to see if they can restore some of his England and Leicester form for a player. However, I can see some of the bigger clubs around the world looking at players from Morocco like Amrabat, even Boufal, he was brilliant, and also Ziyech trying to force a move out of Chelsea to get more game time. But for me, I see Liverpool signing a player like Umani, I think the Moroccan midfielder, maybe even Amrabat to be the Wijnaldum placement we never get, or for one of them to maybe replace Fabinho as he is getting older. So that is what I think would happen to some of the players. There's many other new world stars out there. Gonzalo Ramos will probably get himself a big move either in January or in the summer, with lots of big clubs looking for a striker. But there has been a controversial video been going out, so we don't know how that video would go, how that transfer would go for him. But overall, I think we're not looking at too many big moves in January. other than players from Morocco really, or players from Japan who had a good tournament but not enough to completely inflate their market value and would be a steal for mid-table to the top level Premier League clubs. And any big transfers like Bellingham, maybe Saka if someone can pry him away from Arsenal, Rashford to Real Madrid, all that would happen in the summer transfer window. Alright, it now would have been a year and a half since England won the World Cup, and it's time for the Euros to roll around. After smashing qualifications with loads of good players at the best clubs all over the world, England have high hopes for the tournament. However, Gareth Southgate is still there, a controversial point for many who think Pochettino or Tuchel should have been hired a year and a half ago. However, Southgate is still there. He decided to stick with the project. We've seen new players come into the team such as Guehi and Mitchell, who has now become England's starting left back, and Guehi is now a sub centre back. We've also seen Southgate finally give Tomori a chance, and it has turned out to be a brilliant decision for the country. However, Euro 2024, many transfers have been and gone. Loads of the best players are still playing really high level. Kane is still at Tottenham, trophyless of course. And you've got Bellingham, he's at City or Madrid. Saka has stayed loyal to Arsenal in my opinion. And you've just got loads of these other players all over the world. Rice has got his big money move, probably to United or Chelsea. And the England squad, it's looking very good, although with some ageing components in there such as John Stones and Kane himself. Although Tammy Abraham has had multiple opportunities and may see some minutes at this tournament. However, Euro 2024, as world champions, reigning world champions, I think it's a disaster. Southgate's tactics and his team crumble around his feet, and I see a massive flop for England in the future of Euro 2024. People would argue we look too strong, but I think by that point having Southgate as manager would have become stale. The players might even mutiny if they want him out, and I honestly think that England could get a better manager. But at that tournament, I see maybe one too many egos as some of the younger players who now been at the top level for ages sort of let it get to their heads a bit. Players like Phil Foden, maybe even Mason Mount. I can see that happening. I can see an implosion from inside the dressing room from England at Euro 24. And I honestly think it will be a horrendous tournament for England, not what people are hoping for whatsoever. '26 World Cup then, in Canada, in the US, in Mexico. Can England return to winning ways and retain the World Cup title? In my opinion, we will have a big chance of this tournament with younger players such as Bellingham and Foden being way more matured. And I also think Tomori will be a brilliant centre-back at this point in his peak. And the same goes for Abraham being England's new striker. However, I don't think England will retain the crown after a horrendous Euro 2026, like I mentioned, Euro 2024, sorry. This World Cup 2026, you will see a new manager in charge of England. Either Eddie Howe, Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard will be the three managers for me at that point in time, unless there's a new up-and-coming England manager who takes the job, because we're not going to hire a non-English, so it has to be either one of those three or completely random new up-and-coming English manager. So for me, I believe that this is where England will lose the World Cup, but they won't suffer the curse because obviously France have broken that in 2022. However, I do believe that England will either get quarterfinals or semi-finals in 2028, losing to a monster team like a Brazil or Argentina early on in the tournament. And I do think that England fans will be disappointed, but it's something we should appreciate, with very good chances going into Euro 2030. And I think that in this hypothetical situation, England aren't where you'd want to be if we did win the World Cup in 2022. So World Cup 2026, England do not win the World Cup. Euro 2024 is a disaster. 2026 World Cup is an improvement on 2024 though. And I feel like that's a realistic thing that can happen. So I can see an implosion under Southgate happening at some point. I've gone for Euro 2024 despite having all this amazing talent. And Euro 2026 is where it picks up again with hopefully Eddie Howe at the wheel. He is a brilliant, brilliant manager. So that is it for this video. I'm ending at World Cup 2026. Loads of English players at all the biggest clubs across the world. And I honestly think that England, they could still win Euro 24. I might have said that it's going to be an implosion. They could win it. But if they did win World Cup 2022, I can see an implosion under Southgate at some point along the line, with it to pick up with a new manager, hopefully Eddie Howe, after he's left. And I don't think what I've said in this video is too far off what realistically could have happened if England won the World Cup. Obviously, Harry Kane would have been knighted or something like that as well. And honestly, I don't think this was too far off what would have happened. But obviously, it's not going to happen because we got knocked out by France. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe and tell me in the comments down below if you think this is realistic at all. Thanks for watching.